Hi, welcome back to Jessie Kate Creates. Today I have a really fun, cheeky card that I wanted to share with you. And this was a card that really challenged me to use what I had. I didn't really have all the things I needed to make this card, but I was really determined not to buy anything new just to make this card and to use what I had in my stash, to use the supplies I had and get creative with it to make the card I wanted. If you're like me, then you probably have a ton of craft supplies that you don't really use. And what I tend to find is that when I challenge myself to just use what I have, I tend to make cards that really force me to be more creative, and that in the end, I usually enjoy more. And that's really what I've been trying to do this year, is focus on using what I have instead of always like buying something new. It's not to say I don't buy things from time to time, but I am really trying to focus on using what I have. And so that's what I did for this card today. I forced myself to use what I have to make the card that I had kind of been imagining in my head for the past few days. So without further ado, why don't we get into this card? Okay, so to start off with this card, we're going to be doing a lot of ink blending. So I just have a scrap piece of cardstock that is bigger than an A2 card base, and later I'll just go ahead and trim it down when I have it where I liked it. For this card, we're going to be making a peach. I don't have a peach stencil, so I grabbed some acetate from some old packaging, and I used my Cricut, but if you have an oval or circle die, you could certainly use one of those instead. And I just took that piece of acetate and I die cut out kind of an oblong circle. And I'm going to need the positive and the negative of these two pieces. I also used that packaging, and it was from a set of bath bombs, as you can see here. I also used that packaging to cut out a leaf shape. And again, we're going to want the positive and the negative so that we can do some masking with our ink blending. To begin this card, we're going to do some very soft, gentle ink blending. I want the peach to be centered kind of in the bottom corner here, but I don't want it to just have a white background. I kind of want it to fade out. So I'm going to take what will be the lightest color I'm going to be using for my ink blending for the peach, and that is this Memento Cantaloupe. So to start things out, what I'm going to do is just lightly ink blend all over, not all over, but I'm going to lightly ink blend the background of this, and I'm going to kind of work darkest at the bottom and then kind of fade out into white. So it's overall going to be very, very light, but it will definitely be darker in this bottom corner. Table wobbles when I blend. I'm just going to go ahead and skip through the blending and show you what the piece looks like when it is done being blended. Okay, so there we have it. That's the blending that we're going to start off with. And as you can see, it is very subtle. I don't even know that the camera is picking it up very well, but that's what I wanted for this first part, just a subtle wash of color in the background. Next, I'm going to go ahead and start to lay out my peach. So to make a peach shape from these oblong circles, we're going to, once these two are blended together, it's going to look like a peach. So I think I like my peach looking like that. And where do I want the leaf for the peach? And I think I'm going to want my leaf to be right there. We need to know where we want that placed because I do not want to ink over the leaf. I'm just using some 3M tape to put my stencil down. And you can see it's just a little bit, but I don't want to get any ink on that leaf. So now I'm going to go back to my Memento and I'm going to blend in this first section of the peach, making sure that I keep this edge a little darker and this edge a little lighter. Okay. So now I've got the first layer of ink blended on there. And for the second layer to kind of darken things up, I am going to be using the Color Story Oh Happy Day ink. It's a nice bright orange. And I'm going to focus this once again on the edge of our peach. And I'm going to do the blending off camera and then come back and show you what it looks like once I have that on. Okay, so we're back. I think I have the orange how I like it. I'm going to use some more of the Memento Cantaloupe just to blend those two together, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Everything blended. I'm really happy with how this is looking. And lift that up. Yeah, I'm really liking how that's looking. So now it's time to do the other portion of our peach. We're going to take that little piece of the stencil and use it as a mask to cover what we just blended. I'm going to tape that into place. Okay. Now that I have that masked off, I'm going to bring in that circle again and use this to create the second little hump of our peach. No, don't forget about that leaf. We're going to take that leaf and once again mask it off because we don't want to get ink where our leaf is going to be. Now I am going to use the exact same colors. I'm going to use that Memento Cantaloupe and the Oh Happy Day to blend on this little hump of the peach. Okay, so I think I have that blended how I like it, but I'm just going to kind of lift everything up and check and see if it's where I want it. I think that's pretty good, but I want to go back and darken up the first edge of our peach. So I'm going to line that up again one more time. Line my leaf up again. And I want to darken up this edge just a little, just so it matches the other edge. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. So now that we've done all the shading, this is what our peach is looking like so far. I'm loving it. In order to make the stem for the peach, I took the acetate I used to make the leaf and just used my scissors to cut in a little shape that I thought looked like a stem. Once I had something I liked, I taped it down to the project and used Distress ink in the color Vintage Photo to blend in the stem. Okay, so I blended on the stem. Now I'm just going to peel that off. And you can see there we have our stem, and now I just want to go ahead and add our leaf. To add our leaf, I'm going to take my stencil and I'm going to line it up with the curve we had in our peach. Just like that. Do not want to get any green ink on our peach. And I'm going to go ahead and blend on my leaf using a combination of Memento Pear Tart and Distress Ink Mowed Lawn. Okay, so I went ahead and blended that. I'm going to peel it up. And there we have it. There is our peach background for this card. I'm really happy with how that turned out. So the next step now is to go ahead and trim this down to the size I want it. Because like I said, this is definitely bigger than an A2 size panel. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this down and then come back and we'll do the sentiment. So I went ahead and trimmed this down to, I think 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I trimmed it down so that there'd be a nice amount of border on this card. So you can see it has a nice prominent white border. I really like the look of that. Okay, So next we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment. So for this, I'm going to do some black heat embossing. I'm going to use some Versamark sticky ink and just some black embossing powders from Recollection, which you can get at Michael's. Now, you do want to make sure that your panel is completely dry before you do this. Otherwise, the ink will want to stick to the ink blending. So make sure that your panel is dry. I know mine is good and dry. So to stamp the sentiment on this card, I'm going to take a stamp set from the Concord Retro Petals Turnabout that says, "I miss your face." And I'm going to pre-treat my surface with anti-static powder, since we are going to do embossing, treating it liberally. You could use a stamping tool if you have one and you'd prefer it. This was just simple, so I decided not to use it and just use my block. I'm going to sprinkle on my powder. And now I am going to go ahead and emboss this guy, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and embossed this off camera, and you can see there it's nice and shiny and embossed. So the next step is to attach this to our card base. And actually, before I attach the front, I'm going to do the inside. Now, I knew what I wanted this to say, and I used my printer. I ran some 80-pound Nina Solar White cardstock through my printer, and it worked out really nicely. And that way I was able to get the sentiment I want for this card. And the sentiment on this card is, "and your booty, but mostly your face." So all together it'll read, "I miss your face, and your booty, but mostly your face." I thought that was kind of cute and fun and different. And I don't know, sometimes it's just fun to make kind of cheeky cards. And so that's what I wanted to do with this guy. That's the reason I wanted a peach on the card so badly. Okay. So just going to line that up and adhere it to the inside of the card. All right, and now for the panel, I am going to pop it up using some foam tape. So I went ahead and adhered foam tape to the back of my panel, peeled off the backing, and now I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my base. I just want to make sure I get it nice and even. Press down. Now I thought about adding sequins to this card, but I really liked the simplicity of it without it. So that completes our card today. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, of course, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. If you would like to see more still photos of this card, I will have them linked in my blog, which will also be listed in the description box down below. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.